Hello, my dear students. I hope you all are doing good. So, if you all are aware, we have completed your first chapter, that is Audit Framework and Regulation. Now, we will be moving on to your second chapter, that is Planning and Risk Assessment. So, let's see what we have to discuss in this particular chapter. So, moving on to slide 2. So, we have to know what is the precondition of audit. So in this particular chapter, the first topic is your preconditions for audit. Now we all know what is auditing and why is auditing basically carried out in a particular organization, as we have already discussed in your first chapter. So what does precondition of audit means? So precondition of audit basically means the use by management of an acceptable financial reporting framework. Okay, you are accepting a acceptable financial reporting framework. Basically, you will be selecting an appropriate framework for your organization, what kind of documents will be prepared, what kind of financial statements will be prepared, etc. Now, reporting framework in the preparation of a financial report and the agreement of management and, where appropriate, those charged with governance to the premise on which the audit is conducted. Okay, so basically the precondition, one most important condition to begin with auditing is you need to have a proper financial reporting framework. Only if you have a proper financial reporting framework, then it will lead to a proper success of auditing. Now, auditors should not only accept a new audit engagement or continue an existing audit engagement if the preconditions for audit required by ISA 210 agreeing the terms of audit engagements are present. Now, auditor must always make sure that whatever the preconditions of auditing is, everything has to be included in the precondition of audit. Okay, now let's look into what ISA 210 requires to say. Okay, now what does it require the auditor to actually do? Firstly, the auditor has to determine whether the financial reporting framework is to be applied in the preparation of the financial statements. Okay, suppose if an organization has a financial reporting framework, how he has to report, to whom he has to report, how he has to carry out the particular auditing, etc. Whether he has to report, whether he has to include everything in the financial statements or not. Okay, then to include the financial statement is appropriate and obtain the agreement of management, that is acknowledging and understanding its responsibilities. So he needs to understand that he has to first identify whether whether the auditor has to include the framework, and also if he has to accept, if he has to go about gaining gaining permission, gaining acknowledgement to understand his responsibilities. Next is, if the preconditions for the audit are not present, suppose before carrying out the auditing there are no such conditions which are mentioned, there are no preconditions, okay, that are present, then the auditor should not discuss the matter with management. Okay, the auditor will not go ahead with discussing any matter with the management and should not accept the engagement unless required to do so by the law of regulation. Suppose if there are no conditions which are mentioned in the auditing, then the auditor should not disclose the information also, he should not go and talk to the management also, and he should wait until he gets the rules and regulations from the by the law. Okay, next is your procedures. Next is the procedure for the auditing. Now let's look into what the procedure of auditing is. Now, if offered an audit role, the auditor should do the following things. Okay, if the auditor is offered for an audit role, then he should do the following things. First, he needs to ask the client for permission to contact the outgoing auditor. Okay, if in case if there is an inside auditor or the outside auditor, he needs to take permission of the client. Next, contact the outgoing auditor asking for any reasons why they should not accept appointment. Okay, for example, if the auditor has to take charge of anything, he needs to ask them if they can go out, if they can go to any of their other outlets to take further information or not. Okay, then if a reply is not received, the prospective auditor should try and contact the outgoing auditor by other means. Okay, example, by telephone. The auditor or the internal auditor can contact by outside means. If a reply is still not received, the prospective auditor may still choose to accept and proceed with care. So basically the auditor has to wait until he gets a reply from the external auditor. Okay, whether he can go out to carry out auditing or whether he should stay within the particular company boundaries only. Okay, next is ensure that the legal requirements in relation to the removal of the previous auditor and the appointment of the firm have been met. Okay, you have to make sure that whatever why the auditor has been removed, all of that has to be clearly mentioned, and what is the whether a new auditor has been appointed or not. Next, carry out checks to ensure the firm can be independent, is competent to do so, this audit, and the necessary resources. Okay, you need to make sure that whether a particular firm requires an independent auditor or a group of auditor, or whether the firm has necessary resources to carry out the auditing activity or not. Next is assess whether this work is suitably of low risk. Okay, whatever work is, whether it has high risk or low risk. Assess the integrity of the company's directors. Okay, you need to also identify whether the company's directors are liable, whether the company's directors are honest, and they are suitable for carrying out the work or not. Then, as a commercial organization, the firm should ensure that this is desirable client. For example, you have right industry, suitable profit margin, etc. Okay, you need to make sure before you carry out auditing, you have to make sure that whether the particular organization is suitable, whether it is recognized by the government, okay, whether it is the right kind of industry, whether it is doing activities which are legal, okay, and make sure that it is not into any illegal activities, etc. Next, do not accept the appointment where it is known that limitation will be placed in the scope of the audit. Suppose, for example, if the company is telling you only in this particular boundaries you have to do the auditing, no further information will be given, then there will be a lot of problem for the auditor to carry out auditing. Okay, because the auditor will not be given any extra information if he's asking, or if the auditor might face a lot of difficulty, and also he will not be able to deliver good results. So that is the reason why he should not accept in case if there is any limitation in auditing. Next, in order to establish whether the preconditions for audit are present, the auditor should do the following things. Okay, that is, first one is determine whether the financial reporting framework to be applied to in the preparation of financial statement is acceptable. Whatever framework that has to be applied in the auditing framework, whether it is acceptable by law or no. Next, obtain the agreement of management that is acknowledges and understands the responsibility. Okay, you need to identify whether the particular report identifies the responsibility of the people who are involved in audit or not. Next, for the preparation of the financial statement in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework, including whether relevant and fair information is present or not. You need to make sure whether there is all the financial report is present, whether there is appropriate framework of the financial reporting, and whether entire information that is available is fair. Okay, it should be transparent. There should be no misstatements or any error which will be made. Now, for such internal controls as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from any material is misstatement. Okay, you should make sure that before accepting the precondition, you should also make sure that there is no forgery, or there is no any inappropriate activity which is done in accordance with the material. Okay, everything should be very fair and honest. Next, to provide the auditor with this, the company has to provide, the auditor has to be provided with all the, as we discussed in the first chapter also, that is, he needs to get access to all the information in order to prepare the audit report. Then in case if he's asking, if the auditor wants any additional information, okay, he will request it for the top management, and the top management will have to give all the extra information in case if the auditor requires it to carry out auditing. Then, unrestricted access to person within an entity for whom the auditor determines it necessary. Okay, in case if the auditor requires, suppose the auditor, there is a particular entry in the organization and no one is permitted to go there, but the auditor has to take information to carry out auditing from that particular entity, or suppose he requires that particular data, then he needs to get that access. Okay, he needs to be granted permission to carry out the auditing effectively, and there should be no limitations to the auditor to carry out the auditing. Now, after which you have your next topic, that is obtaining audit engagement. What is audit engagement? We all discussed this in the previous chapter, and the meaning is also present in the previous chapter. So continuously going through the same thing will elongate and drag the topic. That is why I'm not going into depth, because we've already discussed about that in the previous chapter. Now, obtaining audit engagement. Now, what is the main reason for obtaining audit engagement? Now, what is the purpose? Now, the purpose of international standard, that is ISA, is to establish standards and provide guidance on the following things. That is basically when you are carrying out auditing, you have to carry out auditing according to the rules and regulations as per certain guidelines. Okay, there will be certain guidelines, and that is why ISA has set certain standards to carry out your engagement, audit engagement. That is agreeing the terms of engagement with the client. That is, auditor and the client has to agree with the engagement, agree with the terms and conditions, like how will they carry out auditing, on what term, how much time will it be taken to carry out auditing, etc. Then the auditor's response of request by client to change the terms of an engagement to one that provides lower level of assurance. Okay, whether what is the kind of guarantee which is involved in auditing, and how will the entire auditing process be carried out, then what will be the terms and conditions. Suppose the terms and conditions are very strict, then how will the auditor be able to change the terms and condition as per the client's requirement, etc. Then the auditor and the client should agree on the terms of the engagement. Okay, both the parties should agree with the terms of the engagement in order to enter into a particular contract. Then the agreed terms would need to be recorded in an audit engagement letter or other suitable form of contract. Now, why are you recording all of the agreed terms and conditions? Is because later the client should not blame the auditor for not following any rules and regulations, and also everything will be clearly mentioned, that the auditor would have even told that the client has to provide access to entire information, etc. All of these details will be mentioned. So both the parties should mutually understand and should be mutually agree upon the terms and condition, and all the terms and conditions should be maintained in a particular letter, so that both the parties are in case if one party is denying something, there is a proof that is saying that you have already agreed upon the terms and conditions. Now, next one is the objective scope of an audit, and the auditor's obligations are established by law. Okay, whatever the rules and regulations are, whatever the basic objective is, everything is established by law as to how they have to carry out their auditing activity, how many parties are allowed to be involved, whether who can be the auditor, whether it is an internal auditor, whether it is the external auditor, etc. Now, even in those situations, the auditor may be still find audit engagement letters informative for their clients. Okay, the audit engagement, suppose as humans we have the tendency to forget, so the auditor will prepare the audit engagement letter so that everything is written down, and this whatever is being discussed is being made a note of. Okay, and so that the audit letter will also be useful for future references by the clients also, in case if the auditor wants to show proof, or in case if they offer documentation purpose, etc. It will be basically acting as a proof which will be available by the auditor to the client. Okay, so this is about the obtaining audit engagement. Next is audit engagement letters. Now, what is this audit engagement letters? Now, audit engagement letter is basically what is happening. It is in both interest of the client and the auditor. What is happening is, this is the procedure, that the auditor is sending an engagement letter. Okay, preferably before the commencement of the engagement. What is this engagement? Engagement is the auditing. Okay, before the engagement, the auditor is sending the engagement letter. So why is he sending this? Is basically he is avoiding any misunderstanding respective to engagement. Okay, he will in prior mention all the rules and regulations. He will make it clear that is that no one should be involved in his work, and whatever information will be asked, he should give the company should give entire information, etc. All of this terms and conditions and etc. everything will be discussed in the audit engagement letter, so that once the engagement has commenced, there should be no misunderstandings. Okay, to avoid all of this, the auditor will send the audit engagement letter to the client prior. Okay, before the starting of the engagement, before the commencement only, he will send it. Now, the engagement letter documents and confirms the auditors and acceptance of the appointment. So when the client will confirm, okay, will accept the engagement letter and will confirm, then it means that you are accepting the appointment. The objective and scope of the audit, the extent of auditor's responsibility to the clients, and the forms of any report. So basically, you are granting acceptance to any of the appointment. Okay, you are granting acceptance to any of the appointment which will be carried on in the further basis. Now, agreeing Yeah, agreement on written representation. Now, what is this written representation? As we all know, everything, whatever is discussed, has to be completely written down, right? Because when you're writing down, you have the tendency of missing out on some information is very less, and also it will serve as a proof that you have a particular proof, like whatever is being discussed, you have a proof of everything being recorded and noted. So, the first thing is the auditor should actually obtain the acknowledgement, that is, he has to be acknowledged whether you are being appointed as the auditor or not to carry out the auditing activity. Now, auditor will obtain the acknowledgement and agreement of management, and where appropriate, those charged with governance, that they understand their responsibilities. First, what is the responsibility that is mentioned in the written representation is, that is preparing and presenting the financial statements. That is, the auditor or the company has to prepare and present the financial statements. After that, you have to design, implement, maintain internal control relevant to preparation and presentation of financial statements. That is, after you have prepared and presented the financial statement, you should design, that is, you should give a proper structure. You should organize all the data effectively in the financial statements. You have to implement the structure of the financial statements and maintain an internal control of the same. Okay, why are you doing this? Is to avoid any sorts of fraud, any sort of misuse or material misstatement. So in order to avoid all of this, you are doing these particular things. That is why you are obtaining a written representation. Okay, after that, what is happening is providing complete information to the auditor. Once the firm is preparing financial statements and presenting the financial statement, they are writing down everything and presenting. They have to next provide complete information to the auditor. That is, there will be an engagement letter which will be sent before carrying out the auditing. Okay, now what is happening in the engagement letter is, the engagement letter is specifying what is the nature of the contract, who are the two parties involved in the contract, then nature of the contract between the audit firm and the client, which minimizes the risk of misunderstanding in the auditor's role. So that now the auditor is very clear about who to whom he has to carry out the auditing, who is the client, and whether the particular client is ready to give the financial information to carry out auditing or not. Now, why is this happening is to avoid any sort of misunderstanding on the later on basis. So this is why before the auditing activity starts, the engagement letter is being sent. Now, it should be reviewed. Now, the engagement letter, okay, now, this is basically to avoid the misunderstanding, right? Now, it should be reviewed every year to ensure that it is up to date, but does not need to be reissued every year unless there are changes to the terms of the engagement. Now, once you enter into a contract, it does not mean that if the contract remains the same. As we all know, environment is something which is dynamic, and you need to cope up with the changing environmental activities, right? You need to have your contract flexible, etc., right? So now, in case if you have already entered into an engagement contract, but due to some reason there will be any changes or something in the terms of contract, if you're making any changes in the rules and regulations, etc., so all of that has to be continuously kept up to date. That is, you need to mention in case if there is any changes which are happening or anything, because auditing is a period of 5 years, right? So whatever changes are, you have to keep it up to date, because at the end you will have to present this report to the top management. Now, the auditor must issue an engagement letter if the scope or context of the assignment changes after initial appointment. Suppose before the auditor was appointed, there were different rules and regulations, different terms of the contract, etc. But after he is appointed, due to certain circumstances, the terms of the agreement or something has changed, then the auditor has to mention this before the actual appointment also. Okay, he has to mention like due to what reason that particular thing has come up and why they have made necessary changes. Now, The ISA 210 requires the auditor to consider whether there is a need to remind the entity of the existing term, the audit engagement for recurring audits, and many firms choose to send a new letter for every year to emphasize on the importance of the client. Now, what happens is basically since your auditing is carried out on a yearly basis, that is for a period of 5 years, right? So, what is happening? Certain organizations, what they do is they send audit engagement letters every year. Okay, every year. Why? Because they want to show that the client is of most importance to them, and they want to keep the client very much up to date, because the client, if you're sending it only at once, then the client might have the tendency to miss out on the particular information. So that is the reason why certain organizations send it on an everyday basis. Now next you have the audit engagement content. Now what this particular topic will be discussed in your next video.